Welcome to another in a continuing series of Kiuwan webinars. This time, we are going to be talking about using Kiuwan with Jenkins. Specifically, we are going to be digging into the Kiuwan Jenkins plugin. My name is Aaron Martinez, and with me is the one and the only GD Burke, and he will answer your questions online as we speak. And of those of you that have tuned into other of our webinars, you have seen the work we've done and have a chance to get to know us. But for those that are new, this is a little bit about us. We have an agenda. We'll talk a little bit about Kiuwan, a little bit of an overview about SAST and Kiuwan. Then we will jump right into the Jenkins plugin, and then we'll take a time out and show you a couple of times how to actually set up the plugin so you can really see it done and see how easy it is. And then if you end up watching this video later, you'll have a reminder on how quick and simple it is, and you can get to work quickly with Kiuwan. So, a little bit about Kiuwan. Kiuwan is a global company providing end-to-end application security for developers. We are a member of the IDEA family of products. So that's a fairly large family ranging from software development platforms to database platforms. We live in the DevOps tool area, and our cousins include products like TestRail, Assembly, RunnerX, and TreviCI. Kiuwan is a static application security testing tool, or SAST. So that is, we scan your source code looking for patterns that indicate security flaws or code quality issues that you will see later on. We also do SCA, means software composition analysis, which is analyzing your source code for third-party and open source components, and then commenting on the security posture of those components. That gives you an idea of what building blocks you are using in your code that may be vulnerable or exposing you to a risk. In the larger picture, Kiuwan is a SaaS, SAST, and SCA product, so most of our analysis live in the cloud. However, we do have a local analyzer. We call it the KLA or Kiuwan Local Analyzer that can be downloaded from on-prem and then used either by developers or tools in your set tool chain to scan your code. Today, we are going to be talking about the type of use case where we have the Kiuwan Local Analyzer being driven by a plugin in a Jenkins repo. So you can use multiple repos, you can use multiple CI/CD pipeline technologies, but the main idea here, or the fundamental concept, is going to be the same, where Jenkins is going to make a call out to an agent to drive Kiuwan to do a scan of the source code and then report the source code back to the repo. In the larger pipeline picture, we are going to be hanging out mainly in the developer area with the Jenkins repo and using the repo to trigger Kiuwan scans on the repo's behalf. So we won't be playing much of the role as developer or scanning as developer. We will be scanning based on the developer putting some code into the repo, and then the repo making a request out to Kiuwan to run a scan on its behalf. Those scans that you can run will either be a baseline or a delivery scan. So baseline and delivery scans are Kiuwan terminology. Baseline, or in this case the Kiuwan use of baseline, is a specific version of an app in its scans, and that is relevant enough to be used as reference or a milestone for other scans. So that is some amount of code work that you've been done that is stable enough that you want to place a stake in the ground and declare this is a merge or a pull request that is a candidate for the baseline. Then we can do subsequent scans against that baseline and see and mark how your quality and your security has changed with respect to that baseline. We often measure the difference between a baseline and what you're working on today with a thing called delivery scan. Delivery scan is just a Q1 security scan, but it pays attention more closely to the diff or the difference between the baseline that you registered earlier and the code that you're working on now. And that can pay benefits a little bit later on when you're trying to just analyze what a given developer is doing or in a progress commission or commit to the database or code or whatever that's candidate to be pushed to baseline, and you want to do a quick scan of this code to make sure that it's actually going to be the right direction quality and of course security wise. You can read more about this Jenkins plugin that we are going to be playing with today by going to our website and looking up at our resource pages and searching for developer integrations. We will show you this a little bit later, but this is the link that we are going to use. Setting up the Kiuwan Jenkins plugin is really very straightforward, but it does come with some assumptions for today's webinar. The first thing, I'm assuming that you already have an instance of Jenkins up and running, and you have created at least one project or job inside. So this is not going to be a webinar on how to set up Jenkins. It is just going to be an example of how to turn the Q1 scanning in your item project inside Jenkins. So to begin with it is very straightforward. The Q1 plugin for Jenkins can be downloaded and installed like any other Jenkins plugin. So first, let's open Jenkins and go to the Installation Plugins Manager. From the top tab, select Available and find the Kiuwan plugins using the search function of your browser or the search box provided by Jenkins. Type Kiuwan. In case you don't have installed it yet, it will appear there. In this case, we have it already installed, so it should be in our install plugins list as shown here. So we can check the version, and then we can check about Jenkins Kiuwan plugin, in this case version 1.6.0. In case you're installing this for the first time, just hit download now and install after restart. Once we have installed the plugin, it is time to connect it with Kiuwan. To configure Kiuwan plugin for Jenkins, navigate to the Configure System page of your Jenkins instance, as shown here, and look for the Kiuwan Global Settings section. The plugin lets you define different connection profiles. In case you want to connect to a different Kiuwan instances or use different users for specific jobs, these are the available options. Profile name. A name to identify this connection profile. It means that if you are configuring multiple connection profiles, you need to use a scripted name to distinguish easily all of them and to avoid duplicating profiles name. You need to enter your account at Kiuwan, your password, of course, the SSO domain identifier of your Kiuwan account. If you have not enabled, you need to leave this field blank. And then when under a Kiuwan on-premise environment, please check this box and send a Kiuwan URL for your Kiuwan on-premise installation. And click Check Credentials to verify we connect successfully to Kiuwan. If the test succeeds, the current Kiuwan local analyzer and Kiuwan engine versions are shown. However, this test only checks the connection between your Jenkins master node and Kiuwan. To check the connection between Kiuwan, local analyzer, and Kiuwan, it is necessary to run a job and wait for the analysis process to connect to Kiuwan. This is one of the first steps in any analysis, and slaves may access Kiuwan from a different network area. Let's create a job. From the main menu, click on the new item, enter a name for this item. By the way, for the purposes of this demo, we select a freestyle project. For more options, check Jenkins documentation, add a description of the project, then add the URL of the GitHub project. Then in the source code management, select the repository. In this case, it's a Git. Paste the URL and enter the credentials if available. You can select the branches where you are going to build or leave it in blank if you are going to build any. You can then set the repository as auto. The Q1 analysis is executed as a post-build action. Then to run a Q1, add the post-build action name, analyze your source code with Q1. Okay, first you should choose a connection profile to use when analyzing. In case you see a message that stating that there are no connection profiles created, you will need to create one. Choose a source folder to analyze. In case you want to analyze a current workspace, just leave a blank resource path text box. If a relative path is specified, it will be resolved against the current workspace. There are three modes available you to configure your analysis: baseline mode, delivery mode, and expert mode. Just a small reminder of what we discussed before. In this case, we will use baseline mode. And here we have some interesting concepts. The global indicator is something that shows what a situation is like or how it is changing. Our global indicator is 0 to 100 value, and the weighted average of the quality indicator for the software characteristics. Those can be efficiency, security, etc., and how those are measured. If the global indicator is below unstable threshold, the result of the build is unstable, in this case for Jenkins. For failure, the threshold is the same, but the build result is failure. This is on Jenkins terms. Unstable is something like, hey, things are not good, which is equals to failure, and which means that the software is completely a mess, and please abort the commit. Other indicator could be used for the threshold, but the default is the global indicator here, because it's the best way or is the best proxy related to software quality. But for example, for security, the security risk is probably the right one to choose. And click on apply to save the settings. Now let's give it a try and let's build the project and run Kiuwan's analysis after the build process. We can check the build status clicking at the build execute status link, or we can as well use check the console output. Here we can have a lot of information about the process. Before to start the build, the plugin fetches the changes from the remote Git repository in this case. Here we can see how the plugin summons the KLA, the Kiuwan local analyzer, to start the analysis. Let's give a few seconds to the KLA so it can finish the scan. Here you can see as well some other info like the technology is using or detected, some of the parameters that can be predefined. And here we can see that the analysis has finished. It's just populating the results into the platform, and we can see the analysis results of the URL there and getting the summary. And here you can see the Kiuwan static analysis summary. The global indicator is below or lower than 40%, and the risk index is 100%. So the below step, it's a failure for Jenkins. And here, as we mentioned before, if the global indicator is below the failure threshold that we define, the result of the build is therefore failure in Jenkins term as well. And it means that the software is not good and the commit has to be aborted. And quickly, let's check the results from this analysis. So how can you read or understand these results? Well, after the execution and based on the analysis results, you can mark the build success, unstable, failure, not built, according the Q1 analysis results, right? And after build process, the Kiuwan plugin for Jenkins adds a link to the analysis results that can be visible in your Kiuwan account for the job execution page. We are executing, as mentioned at the beginning, the version 1.6.0 of the plugin, and it gives us a summary of the analysis results that will be shown depending on the analysis scope and on the license products you have, the summary can be different. For instance, an analysis result summary for a baseline for an account description that includes code security, code analysis, and insight is the one that we show here. As well, we can review the results directly from our account at Kiuwan using all the tools and all the features available on the platform. And as mentioned before, according the type of the subscription account you have, you will be able to review the different modules. In this case, code security, insights for software composition analysis, and lifecycle for your deliveries and continuous integration. For instance, here you can see a list of the deliveries and the status of the audits, number of applications, etc. Okay, going back to our Jenkins, let's repeat the analysis in a different way. So we go to configure. Now let's change the analysis mode from baseline mode. Let's perform a delivery mode. We leave pretty much the same settings as before. Let's mark wait for audit results and change it to failure. Click and apply. And let's build again. We can check the status. Let's go into the console. As mentioned you before, the console output gives us a lot of information that can be useful in case that we can have any trouble, or if you just want to check what the plugin is actually doing. Let's wait a few seconds. And as you can see, the execution times are really, really fast. Let's wait for the results. Here you can see the summary of the results. And you see that it's successful because from our baseline to our first delivery, and we perform the changes. So we pass our audit. If we run again another delivery without changes, the results will be different. But all the mandatory checkpoint was passed the threshold as expected. As same as before, you can consult the results in Jenkins or directly from your account at Kiuwan. So we ask Kiuwan to scan our source code to do a SAS scan. I actually asked it to do a SAS scan and SCA scan. So code security and insights in Kiuwan terms, right? When you perform a Kiuwan SAS scan, we are scanning your code looking for defects and vulnerabilities as defined by normative standards such as this. So we have codified some 12 or 13 plus normative standards, and with those scans with respect to over 33 languages. But specifically, we respect to these some 25 plus frameworks. And the vulnerabilities we are looking for, generally speaking, are these, these are the formal names, but you know them as SQL injection or sanitization or deserialization or that type of thing. We also actually don't just do security scanning. Kiuwan is a quality tool as well. So when we scan your code, we are actually scanning from more of an ISO 25K point of view, which includes security thinking that security codes begins with high quality code. And we break out the security component and present that to you in a more sequestered way so that the information security people can have a cleaner view onto the source code. But we actually do look at your code with respect to the code quality and the other pillars of code quality. And when we bring that all back, that's all contained in those scans that you initiated from your Jenkins plugin. All right, and with that, I think we are down to that point where we can start opening up for any questions or comments. Before we get too deep into chasing questions and any of unanswered ones, you can always contact us with the coordinates here, so you can find more information on our blog. And I took you before to some of our documentation places where you can read more about users manuals of Kiuwan and other information from Kiuwan. And then you can find this, you'll be able to get this video or to find this video and others on our YouTube channel. Then you can like and subscribe there. And if anytime you have questions or comments, you can go ahead and contact us as well. Get back to you with anything that we know. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that were unanswered so that I can feel. So I have some colleagues monitoring the channels. I don't know if Oscar or JD, did you feel any questions while I was presenting?
This is JD. We did, and so folks can read those in the Q&A panel, I believe. But the short of it for you, Oscar, because you were busy teaching, I'm sorry, Aaron, was that we had a question about does the Jenkins plugin support third-party analyzers? And the answer we gave was no, it does not. The plugin does not. Kiuwan does. Plugin does not. So you have to do all that third-party work in the in Kiuwan and then reference it from the Jenkins plugin. And then the other questions that I have were along the lines of making sure that I understood correctly that the instructions for everything you showed us are on the product documentation page off of the Kiuwan website. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah, and then the plugin, the Jenkins plugin is free, right? So we can just go to the Jenkins marketplace and download it and use the instructions on our web page and your video and follow along with what you did in the video. Is that about right?
According to Fernando's answer, I think so.
Okay. All right, that was it. So I don't have any other questions, Aaron, so I think we're good.
So I think we can wrap it up for today. And we would like to thank each and every one of you again for joining us for this webinar. Just to remind you that you have any questions or any comments, please don't hesitate or feel free to drop us an email or any contact, and we'll get back to you to initiate or start up a dialogue, and so we can find. And you will find a link to this webinar in an email coming soon into your inbox, and then you will find these and other webinars as well in our YouTube channel or listed in our website. With this, I wish everybody to stay safe and healthy, and see you next time in our next webinar. Okay, thank you very much to everyone.